I think a big part of podcasting, and I want to props to you guys because you guys always have such great energy. I think you guys always sound very energetic and excited.
And now, coming to you from the K2 Studios in San Diego, California, it's the world-famous Chris and Christine Show.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? How you doing today? I am Chris.
And I'm Christine, and welcome to episode 37 of the Chris and Christine Show.
Woohoo! All right, number 37. I know. This is the 37th episode. Yes.
Yeah, because I just told you that.
Yeah, you just did, huh? Crazy, huh?
FYI, everybody, I'm a little bit feisty today.
A little bit?
You might get a little bit more attitude than normal. Attitude, catitude, feistiness. I think I'm cooped up. I am. I admit it. I fully admit it.
Check your attitude at the door, all right? You know what I'm saying?
You know what? A while back, you told me that you like it when I'm a little bit feistier because I bring a different kind of energy to the show. So you're welcome. I did it just for you.
You know what it is, Christine? It's all these daylight podcast recordings we've been doing. Like right now, it's daylight, and we usually used to only record exclusively at night, like late at night. And when Christine records late at night, she's like...
So basically, actually, I just was thinking about this. If you were to make me, like if my podcasting personality was an animal, I would be a koala. And that's because they like their sleep. And when they're awake, they're actually kind of vicious.
Don't they like rip off fingers and stuff? Like don't pet a koala bear. Don't feed them carrots.
They don't eat carrots. They eat eucalyptus.
Whatever, maybe. Don't feed them that or carrots because, everybody likes carrots.
Basically saying, Christine, I am kind of like a koala today. I'm very tired. I don't know why. I think it's just because it's been a long week. And I'm feeling very feisty. And so you might hear that come out, just a little bit of snark. You're welcome, Chris.
Oh, I'm not welcome. You listener out there, you are welcome because we're bringing a fantastic episode today.
We definitely are. We have a really good show in store for you. But before we get into that, what was new with you this week, Chris?
This week, the weather here in San Diego has really taken its turned it around, and now we had to turn on the air conditioning. And what was it, like 95 or 100 or 100 degrees out?
It was really hot. And you know what's really funny is typically May is called May gray here in San Diego.
Yeah.
And I've heard that it's kind of gray at the coast, but since we're a little bit inland, we haven't seen that. All we've been seeing are blue skies.
Yeah, and a lot of weather. By the way, I do have solar panels on my roof of my house, and they are enjoying that because I did notice that around April, I think April was my most productive month of the whole entire year for solar. You would think summer, but mostly April is when I had the most power I made.
Yeah, Chris nerds out when it comes to things related to his solar panels.
Oh my goodness. The first year I had the system, I was checking, I got this app that you log into and you can check like the data status of how much power you made. It's like looking at a bank account. You keep looking at it when it keeps getting bigger and bigger, but then summer comes along and you got to use the air conditioning and all that bank account, all that savings you just saved, it sucks it dry.
Yeah, but I'm really excited that with the warm heat that we were finally able to find a contractor to come and replace the screen door because, that's been gone for a year. And there's this really nice breeze in the evening times here where we live. And we've not had a screen door. And so it's like this whole aspect of not getting the fresh breeze, it was like relying on the windows, but we got a fantastic repairman, Alpine Mobile Screen Doors here in San Diego. He was fantastic. Came in, really nice, top-notch, pet grade screen. And I've been enjoying that in the evenings. And then, Chris, I was like, the other night, remember I was telling you, oh, it's so nice to just be sitting here in the living room and enjoying the breeze. And it's just so nice. And, I'm glad that it has a lock on the screen because then I feel safer. What did you say to me?
I said that, anybody with a pocket knife can come right through that thing. It's just a screen door.
I know. And I was like, oh, thanks. Now I have to worry about getting murdered. Thank you so much. Like, he's feisty like that. Here I am.
Don't worry. We got security cameras on all corners of the house watching any bad guys that could come in. So when we do have them come in, you get to see them on video.
Speaking of security cameras, they definitely are doing their job. They protected me the other morning from a very scary invader, a butterfly.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the raccoon that it caught on camera the other night. Did you see that thing? It was this big raccoon it caught in the backyard. That thing was like the size of like a dog.
Yeah, it was huge.
And it was walking along like the fence or something.
Yeah, the top of the fence.
The top of the fence. It was walking along. And it was this big, massive raccoon because it had like the little raccoon eyes and the tail and everything.
The tail, yeah, you could see it. But it caught a butterfly set off the camera the other morning. It was just landed on the actual screen. And then the other really scary invader that our
really
security
scary?
guests that our cameras have been protecting me from have been the doves that are nesting out on the back patch.
Oh my
portico.
goodness. This place is reminding me. Remember that movie Cinderella?
Dr. Dolittle. Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't see Dr. Dolittle, but I remember Cinderella. That's funny. I'm quoting Cinderella. But there was a scene, I think, in the beginning of the movie where she wakes up and all the doves come like flying into the bedroom. Like,
Yeah, they help her get dressed. And then the mice.
the mice. They bring her clothing to her and help her get dressed. She's like, ah! And the birds are everywhere. That's like our backyard because they are just flying. I think today I heard them fly into the window.
Yeah, and you know what? Yesterday, Zeke caught this really unique yellow bird. Like, it looked even different from a parrot, but it was perched on the fence, and he got a picture of it. I'll have to have him show you because it was really cool, and we were both like, wow, it was like really bright yellow.
That's fantastic. Did I ever tell you the time a bird got stuck in the house here?
Yes, I remember.
I tried chasing it around the house because I have a big house with really big ceilings. There were like 50-foot ceilings in the biggest part. And so the bird gets caught and he's flying around. He's flying around to the big skylight sections are really, really high. I can't reach that stuff. So I'm trying to get him with a broom, swat him around, open the doors. And he finally flew out. But it took him a while to get out of here. But
Yeah, this was pre-quarantine.
Yeah, well, didn't really matter. But
I'm just saying, I wasn't at home, so I was getting these frantic texts from Chris, like, there's a bird in the house. It's pooping everywhere. I'm having to clean up from it. Yeah.
And the feathers were everywhere, too. I'm like, where are these feathers coming from? I thought like a pillow or something with feathers coming out of, but these feathers were all over the house. And I'm like, what? But it was like what kind of bird? Was it like a pigeon or a dove or something like that? Mom, that's been a dove.
It was a sparrow.
A sparrow?
It was like tiny.
A crow, maybe? An owl? I don't know.
An eagle.
A bald eagle went in my house. You're
There
trying
you
to get
go.
out.
Christine's eagle impressions. You're welcome.
There you go.
But definitely those cameras do go off and they help me feel a bit more secure in the evenings. They are pretty sensitive though, but I do like them. And I got that one new one for you at Christmas time that we stuck over the front door.
It's supposed to have video and voice, but
Yes.
I've never used the voice part. I don't know how you use it.
Seriously, every time when I walk in, like, because, I leave the house sometimes in the evenings to go grab something. And if you ever look at the video clips and you see me looking up at it, turn the sound on because normally I'm talking to you.
But I don't know how that works. I don't know. I never tried the, maybe we did a test run once with it to see if it worked. But other than that, I haven't usually used it and practiced it in the wild, as they say.
Yeah, but I've done like, hey, babe, I'm home. I hope you're having a good night at work. I love you. And I'll say that into the video. And you're not even
I
listening.
didn't even look at it or anything. I don't hear.
Jeez, Chris.
Well, maybe you can maybe hold a picture of a sign or something. I don't know. Or do the hearts like I love you.
A sign that's like, like, so sign language and actual signs to be like, read me, turn on your volume and listen to the message I have for you.
Sure, why not?
What if it was important? Like, hey, babe,
I'm dying?
Yep, I'm dying. Don't park in the driveway. Well, now I know. Text is more reliable, not to use the security cameras to send you messages.
Well, yeah, I would think so. Maybe a phone call, perhaps. That might work, too. But texting's always good, too. As I always say, text because we can't always answer the phone, now can we?
No, you're very right. But thanks for telling me a bit about your week. My week was pretty uneventful. The Q life is real.
It's basically the same day, but just like yesterday.
Over and over again. It's basically Groundhog Day over and over again. I mean, we're over 50 days of sheltering in place. I did have Zeke here with me. One fun thing that we did last night is we installed LED strip lights in his bedroom.
Oh my goodness.
Not like stripper lights.
Well, kind of.
It's like a junior high dance party in there, but it's these LED strip lights I'm going to just say LED lights that come on a strip and they're...
You like stick it to the wall like a big long... It's like a big long roll of a sticker that like sticks...
It basically is, yeah, but it has a remote and it has different color settings and it has like a flashing setting, which I can't watch because I get migraines
Epilepsy, right?
Well, I get migraines from like they call it photosensitivity. But the really cool thing about these lights is that you have a setting where they respond to sound. So you could be talking in the room and then they light up when they hear your different inflections of your voice, or you can plug in your Bluetooth speaker to the cord and then it responds to the beats of the music. What kid would not love those?
Well, I guess if you're a musician, you might like that kind of stuff. You maybe, you kind of get in the zone, or maybe you're like a DJ and you're just like spinning the ones and twos on your phone. I don't know.
Or you could just be a kid that really likes music and you like to, have a really cool bedroom. So
I've seen speakers. You ever seen these Bluetooth speakers? Or Bluetooth speakers that you just hook your phone up to, and when you play the music, it has these cool lights that like flash as the music's going, kind of a thing, different colors. It's kind of like that, but an entire string of lights.
Yeah, 32 feet of them around his bedroom. So we had to debate where they would go, and I had to talk him out because he wanted to run them right across the middle of the main wall in his bedroom. And I was just like, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to run it behind the TV and then around the wall and then around near the door. And so it's not a complete eyesore for when we have guests that come in and stay in the room, but it's a really cool feature. And so then I told Jacob, Mason got a new comforter for his bedroom, and Ezekiel got the new LED lights, and it's Jacob's turn to pick out something. And so, of course, he came in and I said, well, what do you want, Jacob? And he's like, I want lights just like Zeke. So you're welcome, Chris. They're going to have them in the other bedroom too.
Fantastic. They're going to party in both rooms.
I know.
And they're side by side. So maybe we'll knock the wall down, make a big old party room.
It totally is fun. Like Zeke he had the music on and it was like pulsing, and I was like, like it felt like I was at the club.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, I'd be like,
totally.
Omni, okay.
I need a drink, bartender. I need a drink.
Maybe that's what we should do for date night. Just be like, clear out the beds and be like, party time, dance hall, dun, dun, dun.
Sure,
dun.
why not? I mean, I bet you it's a thing people are doing now, being that it's quarantine and everything. And speaking of being quarantined, you know what, Christine, what a lot of people are doing right now is they are picking up podcasting for the very first time. Ooh. And I do believe that our very next guest we have lined up in the green room of the Chris and Christine show happens to be one of those fellas, and we'll be talking to him right after this. Hey there, K2 crew. We love having you as our loyal listeners.
To keep up to date with what's happening behind the scenes, check us out on social media.
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter.
And don't forget to follow our Facebook page.
Yeah, tag us in your favorite fun stories, and guess what? You might just end up on the show. Ooh. Hey, welcome back, everybody. And today, our very special VIP guest happens to be another podcaster. His name is Rob, and he hosts the podcast entitled Fat, Drunk, and Stupid Podcast. Welcome to the show, Rob. How you doing, buddy?
Thanks. Pretty good.
Awesome. Well, Rob, what part of the world are you joining us from today?
I live in Southwest Missouri, in Joplin, Missouri.
Joplin. We were just talking about Joplin last week on our podcast. I was telling Chris that I used to drive through Joplin when I was going the long way back to college from the Kansas City airport to Springfield.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yep. I remember one night I got lost on my way back. I took the wrong turn and I just kept going, and I went through Joplin. It made it a very long trek back to Springfield.
That's fantastic.
It's easy to do. It's easy to do because there's not a lot between Joplin, Springfield, Kansas City. It's farms and stuff like that, so it's probably easy to do.
Yeah, especially when it's snowing, which was the instance for me.
True.
Hey, what's the weather like right now over there?
It is actually today. It is really nice. It's like 83 today.
Oh, wow. It's probably like that. Yeah, it's probably like that here too.
And a couple of days ago, I think it was 40. And I think by Wednesday, it's going to be 45.
Is that at night or during the day?
A little bit of both. I mean, the weather changes here fairly quickly. And, last week, there was some big storms and a couple of tornadoes and stuff, which is pretty, this time of year kind of kicks off the tornado season, so things can change pretty quickly. But I hope the weather stays nice, hopefully.
Okay, I am super fascinated with this because I've only been through one tornado warning. So in your house, do you have one of those like storm cellars that I saw on like Twister, The Wizard of Oz, and like what's that actually like?
No, we don't have one in our house, but my in-laws have their pantry is a storm safe room. So we usually go over there, but there's a lot of people that have them, and there's places here that sell them, and ones that you can buy and you can put it in your garage or put it wherever you want. And then there are some that have the underground cellars, and people just put stuff down there that they think they might need. And out here, you'll drive by someone's house and you'll see a big pipe sticking up out of the ground and just a door in the middle of the yard. Yeah. And so that's usually a storm shelter, but we don't have one, but we're lucky enough to live close by to the in-laws, so we'll go over there and hunker down.
Have you been through many major tornadoes?
Fortunately, I have not. We moved out here in 2014, and of course there was a really big one out here a couple years before that. And since we've been here, there's been a few close by, but nothing too bad. But I have some friends here that were involved in the big one.
No, wait. Big one by what scale? Is it F5?
Yeah, there was an F5 back in, I think it was 2012 is when it happened. And there were several pretty bad tornadoes, I guess, during that tornado season. This was this one was pretty big, and it was different because it actually kind of rolled on its side, almost like a steamroller.
The tornado did?
And yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it was like sideways rolling over the countryside versus like
Yes.
up and down? That's crazy.
I didn't know it could do that.
Yeah, it did. It was May 2011 actually, and so what happened was there's some cool documentaries on it too, if anybody's interested. But it kind of turned over on its side, and it was really wide, and it went through a big chunk of town and wiped out a bunch of houses, the hospitals, churches, all kinds of things. I mean, it was a big deal. And
That's horrible.
my wife grew up here, and she had been living in Virginia, which is where I'm from originally, is Virginia. But she came out here to visit, and she said she couldn't even recognize the place. She grew up here, and she got lost because everything was gone. There was no landmarks or anything. So that changes a lot of things, I think, for people. Because it's one of those things, like it's a joke, not really a joke, but people say, oh, there's a tornado warning, and people run outside to try to look and see, if they see it or something like that. But it's just one of those things that my wife is actually deathly afraid of tornadoes. But we moved out here, and I told her, if we got caught by surprise, she'd have to get under the house. Well, she also doesn't like spiders and bugs and stuff, so she doesn't want to do that either. So,
Does your house have a basement underneath it?
No. But we always we have a storm radio, and we have a plan. It's myself, my wife, and we have a daughter who will be 3 in August, and so we have a little bit of a plan, but we play it safe. I mean, like the other night, they said pretty much all day, "Hey, there's a huge storm, moving. There's going to be tornadoes." So we went and hunkered down with the in-laws for a while till it passed over. So it's just one of those things. You just got to be cool with it and don't push your luck.
Totally. Now, it was so crazy because I was on Instagram. I have some friends that live out in the Oklahoma area, and one of them was posting about their safe room being delivered this week. And I thought it was like that movie where I don't even remember what the title is, but where they're like trying to hide from robbers and they get into the safe room.
Oh.
And then I realized.
That's Panic Room.
Yes, Panic Room. That's what it is. Yes.
Okay, so I'm a little bit of a ditz sometimes, but I totally thought, I was like, man, I mean, I know they've got some money, but like, is it a threat? Now I understand it's like a tornado shelter in your house. You just taught me something new. Thank you so much.
And you lock the door so the tornado can't rob you. That's what it is.
That's right. So really, it's a double. It serves a dual purpose, and people buy those things, and it's almost like a vault kind of. And people will buy them, and they'll put them in their garage or wherever, just to have somewhere to go into. So it's just one of those things. I mean, I think every part of the country. I mean, you guys have earthquakes out there, so
yeah.
Oh yeah,
everybody's got. Yeah,
just had one a few weeks ago. I was sitting in the living room. I was home by myself, and I started to feel like queasy. I was like, "What is that?" And I got up, and it started shaking, and I fell. And I was like trying to get into the doorway, and here I'm like thinking like, "This is the end of the world, and I'm home by myself." And it was like done 10 seconds later. And Chris, I texted him, I was like, OMG, there was an earthquake. And he's like, "Are you okay? Is the house still standing? Did anything break?" And I was like, I'm the only thing that fell.
Well, you'll be all right.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
so...
I feel like
Go ahead.
I was going to say, anywhere you live, I mean, you got stuff to deal with. I mean, back home in Virginia, that we dealt with hurricanes because we're not that far. My hometown's not that far from the ocean. And then I remember some years back there was a earthquake in Virginia, and people were freaking out. I mean, they were just going crazy.
Oh wow!
So yeah, a little bit of everything. So
Awesome. Well, Chris has been super obsessed with your podcast episodes for the last couple that he's been listening to and has really been captured by a bit of your story. But before we hop into your podcast itself, like, tell us a little bit more about your background. You have a wife, you have a daughter. What's your story? What's brought you here today?
So, yeah, I have a wife and a daughter. She's almost 3. And I also have a 13 and 14-year-old from a previous marriage. And so that's fun. You know, there's like a contrast of older kids and a younger one. The older kids communicate through text only, you know.
That's how they do it.
And my almost 3-year-old communicates with, you know, repeating daddy and the volume going each time until you respond to her. But yeah, I mean, I was in the Army back in 01 to 07. Actually, luckily for me, I signed up about 2 weeks before 9/11 happened, and and I was just trying to make a decision, you know, basically to go do something different and get out of my hometown.
Right.
And so I went and did that, did a couple deployments, and after that, I was a police officer, and then I got out of police work back in 2015 and got into IT work, and I do some programming now. And thankfully, even with the coronavirus, I'm still employed. Thankfully, very fortunately, I'm very, very, very happy for that. So
that's awesome. So that's a pretty big transition from being a police officer to coding. And I'm super fascinated with this because I've been trying to find little online programs to teach myself how to code. Where should somebody go to get started if they're interested in coding in general? There's
a lot of free websites that are out there, and people have different preferences. The cool thing is, it kind of depends on what you're looking to get into. Like Python is a good language for people to learn as a beginner, and it's also free. There's a lot of classes through Coursera, I think, is one site. There's Udemy. There's a couple other ones. I think there's one actually called Learn Programming, I think, that offers a lot of free stuff. So those things are pretty neat, and you know, you can do a variety of stuff with them just at home if you want. And a lot of people do it as a hobby. I never actually programmed a day in my life until they offered me a programming job. And so I learned it.
Well, they pay you for it, might as well, right?
Exactly. And I work with some guys and still do that have learned multiple languages, you know, like on their own, and which I think is pretty fascinating. But it was a good transition for me. I mean, between police work and the Army, I had over 15 years of doing, you know, that kind of stuff. And,
right.
So it was good. And yeah, I wanted to be home more and not have to work weekends and nights and holidays like I've been doing.
Yeah.
And so it was a good transition. It was a drastic one, and it took some getting used to, but I'm glad I did it.
Were you ever stationed out here in California when you were in the Army?
I was not. I was stationed at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. I was in the 101st Airborne Division, and I went to Iraq twice. I went to Louisiana twice. That was more exotic than Iraq in a lot of ways, actually. And I never did go to California for any reason.
Hawaii? You got to Hawaii? Because there was a base out there.
No, I didn't.
I think that we have this like picture of what military life is, or at least I do, like, oh, getting to go to these different places. But I know that the reality is that it can be very intense. And especially it sounds like during the time when you joined that you had some probably pretty challenging experiences. Yeah.
I mean, you know, I went to Iraq in 2003, the initial shock and awe and all that stuff, whatever they call it. And it was interesting because it was kind of like, I remember sitting there. I was sitting there looking around, and you have this holy crap moment, you know, and you're just like, wow, I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I did this, you know. But, you know, there was a lot of good things to come out of it. I mean, obviously there were some not so great, challenging times where you're terrified for your life occasionally.
Of course.
But, you know, I have some friends that I still talk to on a weekly basis, and we've all remained close over the years. And so that kind of stuff is great. And I tell you, I learned so much when I was in the Army. I mean, it was really good for me. And those things I've been able to carry on through my life. And I don't think without the Army, I'd be where I am now. I really don't.
Yeah, you can say that about anything, though, whether you've been to prison or whether you've been in the Army. You know, you can kind of say your experiences, you know, however they are, good or bad, they kind of shaped you who you are today.
Definitely.
Hey, so Rob, I did hear on your very first episode of your podcast that you play the guitar.
I do, yeah.
How long have you been playing that?
Well, I started when I was around 12 or 13. My grandfather played guitar, and he played a couple instruments actually, and he had a bluegrass gospel band, and he would go around to like nursing homes and places, and they would play music. So I kind of grew up around that, and I started with the guitar a little bit, and then I got into playing drums actually.
Wow, that's
And
cool.
Because I think when you're 12 or 13-year-old boy, the drums seem a little more appealing, because they're loud. And so I did that for a couple of years, and actually I was in a high school garage band with two other guys, and we'd go over to, I wasn't old enough to drive, and my dad and I would load up the drums into the back of his pickup and take them over to this guy's house, and we'd play in the garage on Sundays when this kid's parents were at a Bible study or something like that, So, and then later on, I got back into guitar pretty heavily, and especially after my first deployment, I got back and I spent a lot of time playing it, and I was really focused on playing it. And now I have five guitars.
Wow.
And I would have a lot more. My wife and I have to keep it. We have to
Is that like your hobby? Like you collect guitars? Is that what it is?
I think so. I mean, I've always liked them. I love music, and it's just something that it has always been very interesting to me. But yeah, I can go into a guitar shop and just stay in there for hours. I mean, it's
wow.
great. And
do you have a Guitar Center credit card? Do you have one of those?
I don't, because that would be very dangerous. But I tell you what I like to do. I like to go find, there's a term called orphan guitars where, you find these guitars that are used, and you get it at you go find a really good guitar, and you're able to get it at a really good price. I think to me that's exciting. For example, I have a while back I found a Fender Stratocaster at a Goodwill in Seattle, and they only wanted like $80 for it. And it didn't have any strings on it, and it looks pretty beat up. But I contacted them, and they said, "Look, we don't know if it plays because it doesn't have any strings." But so I ended up buying it for $60, and it was $35 to ship it. But I got it home, I took it apart, cleaned it up, put strings on it, and I still play it now. I mean, it's a good solid guitar. So I like doing that. And in that first episode with my buddy Ben, we talked about his guitar, when his guitars were passed on to him from his father. And one of my favorite guitar is a guitar that was my grandfather's that was passed on to me. So he and I kind of bonded over that, pretty quickly. And it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's a, you don't really have to go to the extreme with it. You can pick it up and learn a couple chords and be on your way if you want, or you can dive into it a little deeper, So, but I mean, it's a lot of fun. And before the stay-at-home order, Ben and I were getting together every Friday night. We were playing music together, which was a lot of fun. So I missed that. I'm looking forward to getting back to that.
That's awesome. Now, back to your guitar you got from Seattle. I was going to say, do you happen to find a signature on the bottom of it by Kurt Cobain?
No, I looked it over pretty good. And this was they weren't even sure what year it was. They sent me a picture of the serial number, and it's a 95. But it's still in good shape, and it looks good. But I just thought it was cool that it was in Seattle, because Seattle has such a rich music history.
Totally.
And so I was really, really excited to get that. And I have another guitar, which is a Gretsch. And my wife actually bought me that guitar when I graduated from college a couple of years ago, when I was going to get out of police work and went back to school full time. And so that was my gift from her, which was, I was really, really happy. Number one, to finish school. And I want to say, by the way, it took me 10 years, but I did finish school. I got a college degree. So
that's awesome. Congratulations.
Never quit. Yeah. I mean, you stay at it,
Well, you're one ahead of me, because I don't have a college degree. So,
well, I took some college classes after I got out of the Army in 08. And finally in 2018, in May of 2018, I graduated. But yeah, so that one's really special to me. And they're just fun. It's fun to do. My daughter, who's 2, I have a smaller, cheaper guitar. I'll let her she'll say, "Daddy, let's play guitar." And so she'll sit on the floor and I'll get mine out, and we'll play and stuff like that.
How cute is that? That's adorable.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's a lot of fun. I mean, I think everybody needs a hobby, or something. And I also got a drum kit again a couple months ago. A buddy of mine had one that his brother didn't want anymore. So that drum kit's over at Ben's house, which I haven't been over there since we've been on lockdown. So I haven't played drums in a while. But
yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
Well, I about a year and a half ago, I bought myself an acoustic guitar, and I bought it.
Where is that thing, by the way?
Let me tell my story. Hush now. So I bought this acoustic guitar, and I found it online back. I was visiting my parents, and I was like, I'm going to buy myself a guitar, and I ended up getting it from it ended up being my son's teacher that I didn't even know. It was just like this random listed Facebook Marketplace acoustic guitar, and I was bringing it home on the airplane with me, and I was doing my makeup, and as I was sitting on the airplane, and then I pulled down the guitar, and the guy in front of me, he's like, "Oh, do you play?" And I was like, I'm just going to make up a story in my head. I was like, "Oh, totally, I do." And he was like, "Oh, well, is it anything that I might have heard of?" And I was like, well, I don't think so, because my album doesn't drop until tomorrow on iTunes. And he's like, "Oh, really?" And he's like, "What is your name?" And I was like, "My name or my stage name?" Because my agent makes me use a stage name. And he's like, "Well, what's your stage name so I can look it up when your album is released tomorrow?" And I said, "My name is Chantilly Danielle." Totally not my name. And I said,
"That's a good name, though."
I know,
That's
right?
A good name.
Totally. And so I was like, "Actually, I'm coming down to San Diego for my album release party tonight. And so I'm just trying to get ready for it." And I made up this whole story. So lo and behold, I don't have the guitar anymore. I never did learn how to play it. Chris taught me a couple tunes, but we did take that name, and I named my car Chantilly because it was such a great story. So
there you go. Yeah.
Every guitar has a fun story and a fun piece of your history. And so I'm really excited to hear that brings you so much joy. Yeah,
it does. And like the acoustic guitar that I have, that was my grandfather's. I mean, it's an 83. And that's one that I grew up listening to him play. And now that's the one that I have. And so I think, the guitars carry like, it's like a car or, like an antique piece of furniture or something. It carries a lot of character, and it's cool. It's neat. And I don't really aspire to do it professionally because it's just something fun to do,
Yeah, definitely. And it's always nice to have interests. And speaking of interests, we know that you have another one, which is why we asked you to come on to our show today, is to talk to us about the Fat, Drunk, and Stupid podcast. And that's a super interesting name. So what is the story behind the title?
Well, I was thinking about what to name it. My go-to was Cheaper Than Therapy, but that was already taken.
It was? Oh, no.
Or Talking to Myself. That was another one that I considered.
Was that taken too?
Because that was taken too, unfortunately.
Oh, man.
And I thought about the Rob cast. That was also taken. But
what?
I started thinking. I know, man. All the good ideas are already gone. But I started thinking about kind of what I wanted to, because I feel like the name should kind of go along with the podcast itself. So Fat, Drunk, and Stupid, of course, is a quote from Animal House.
Right. Yeah.
And so I just started thinking, I was like, man, I should just do that. So when I went to register the title, or it searches to see if there's other ones, the only other one was Some Poor Lady Has Fat, Drunk, and Pregnant. So my hats off to her. I hope she's doing okay. But really, it's just to me, I wanted it to be kind of a meaning of like contentment, like Fat, Drunk, and Happy, or Fat, Drunk, and Stupid, and just have and just kind of go with it. And I thought it would be unique, but I was also worried that people would be turned off by the name,
Right.
So that's always a concern. But so far, it's been okay. So we'll see.
So what made you want to do the podcast? Like, what was your inspiration in the first place? It was because you're just bored. You want to do one? Well,
I've always been a fan of podcasts, and really the first podcast I listened to was Kevin Smith's Batman podcast.
Okay.
And this was
That Fat Man
probably.
on Batman. So it is a Fat Man on Batman? Yeah.
Yep, Fat Man on Batman. When he first started it, I started listening to that, and so I kind of went from there. Listened to Kevin Smith and Mark Maron and Dan Carlin, Hardcore History. I'm a big fan of that, and I just like how there's just different interests, and it's really cool. And so I talked about wanting to do a podcast for a while, and eventually my wife was like, "Look, just do it, okay? Just do it." And I was like, "Okay, I'll do it." And as wives do, they give you that little extra push. And so I just started researching what I needed, and you really don't need that much, surprisingly. But obviously I got a microphone. I already had some pretty good headphones because I use them to play music and things like that.
Of course. And
just started doing it. And my first episode was with my buddy Ben, and that was kind of very impromptu, but I was really excited to do it. And I was like, man, I really want to do it. And I asked him if he'd be interested, and he said absolutely. So we did that. And then I did a couple episodes last year, and then there was a break. I took a break over the holidays, didn't really worry about doing anything with it. And then about a month ago, I decided to relaunch it, get back into it. And thankfully I created a Twitter account, and I discovered all these awesome podcasts like the one I'm on right now. And
thank you. We appreciate that.
Absolutely. And several others, man. And I had no idea, I'm like, man, it's like a network of independent podcasts. And it's so cool because everybody, we
don't have the purchasing power or the big names to really like the big companies have when they do podcasts. They'll launch you probably have heard of the Ron Burgundy podcast. That's everywhere. They probably spend thousands and thousands of dollars to promote that thing. We just have each other on Twitter. Right. We just have Twitter to use. That's all we got.
Yeah, and I was surprised because and I got into it and just started discovering all these great podcasts, and I have a huge list of podcasts now that I've listened to. And it's really cool because it's everyday people and I think everybody can kind of relate to each other because everybody has kids and other things going on, and it's been good networking with everybody and kind of interacting with everybody on Twitter has been a lot of fun.
Have you been releasing episodes regularly? Or are you kind of like what's your release schedule like?
Well, I've been shooting for one a week. I have done. I've done two. I think I had two a week the other week, but really what I wanted to do was get into some sort of not really a set schedule, but at least shoot for one a week is what I like to do. And a lot of that depends on, obviously I've had some guests. I was able to get some guests, and so it really depends on their availability. And I try to gauge it as far as what days I should release, and I think that's really kind of a challenge to it. Actually doing the podcast is fun and fairly easy, but I think deciding, okay, because if you say I'm going to do two a week, well, you may not always be able to do two a week because,
right.
Kids and life and whatever, or you may not just feel like it,
right.
Sometimes you may not be feeling it. Because I think a big part of podcasting, and I want to, props to you guys, because you guys always have such great energy. I think, you guys always sound very energetic.
Wow.
And excited.
Well,
no, it's cool because
what we do before we start the podcast, we start punching each other, and then we.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, usually I shotgun about 5 beers and then I try to podcast. But no, but I think when you listen to somebody and they're excited about what they're talking about, it makes you want to listen to them. I think, because you can kind of hear that energy and stuff like that. And so I think it's important, not to force an episode because you're like, well, I got to do another episode this week, so I'm going to drag myself over here and record it. So I try to just go with it. And, when I have a guest, when they're available, do the episode with them, edit it and get it all together and then get it released.
That's awesome. So, Rob, who do you think is, or maybe this, like your type of targeted listener, who do you tend to attract with your type of a podcast?
That's a good question because I was looking at the platform I use has a breakdown of listeners by gender. And I'm actually 55% female.
Ooh.
And 45% male, which...
that's pretty even though, for the most part.
That is pretty even, but I was surprised because if when you see and by the way, shout out to my guy Rain for my really nice new logo. That thing is really sweet. I don't know if you
saw
guys
that.
but yeah.
We love it.
Yeah, so very highly legitimate. I mean, that thing is nice. But, obviously I think people would assume that it's a very male focused kind of thing, but I like to have a variety, like with the guests. I mean, I've had Amanda Webster, who's the, mind and body specialist, and she talked about, mental health and fitness and things like that. And then, then I had Michael Oden on about his independent comic book, and so I think for me, just, I think a lot of it would depend on maybe by episode. And if I have a guest on, or if I'm talking about something that people may want to hear about, then, hopefully they'll be interested in listening. So I kind of leave it open, honestly. And I think as I go forward, and you guys would probably agree with this, I mean, it's a learning process for sure. And you kind of,
definitely.
you kind of tweak it along. And one thing I read the other day, there was something on Twitter about advice for podcasters. And I don't remember who posted this, but someone said, don't try to appease everybody. Just do what you're good at doing, or what you feel good about doing. And one thing that I think I enjoy doing is talking with guests, and I let them talk, and because when I listen to podcasts, I want to, if it's a guest that I'm interested in, I want to hear the guest talk, it makes sense. And so it's just kind of a little bit of a variety. And it's funny because this past week, my newest episode, I was just me. And I was actually kind of nervous beforehand, because
Right.
I thought, man, because I'm like, man, I don't know. When you have a guest, it's a little easier, I think, because you can ask a couple questions.
Well, that's why I invited Christine to do it the whole time in the first place.
Yeah, he was going to do it by himself, and then he was like, well, it would be better for me to have banter back and forth, because he's a pretty funny guy. And
Oh, thank you.
yeah, making jokes for yourself without anybody else to laugh at them can sometimes be a little
Right.
difficult. And so he's like, hey, Christine, can you do this with me? And I was like, okay, honey. Yes, for sure.
Thank you, by the way, babe. Hey, and by the way, hey, Rob, our logo we made, Christine made it herself on her phone.
Bitmojis. It was like texting Bitmojis. So
Nice.
after the show, you're going to have to message us your guy's name, because we're at the point where it's about time to get a little professional.
What's wrong with what we got? I like the one we got.
Well, maybe down the road we'll consider it. So slip us a
Yeah,
name.
Yeah, definitely. The one I had was just one that I had made. I mean, obviously it was just a picture of a mug of beer with Fat, Drunk, and Stupid typed over it. So,
Right.
but the new logo was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, when I did the most recent episode, I was going to talk about a couple different things. And I was going to talk about the Joker movie, because I just watched it. And I was talking to my wife, and she said, well, you should probably make some notes, because, you don't want to just ramble endlessly. So there again, wives are always there to pick us up or knock us down, whatever we need.
Or knock us down, I think, sometimes.
Chris, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I would say when you get too low, they lift you up. When you get too high, they knock you back down. And,
We just keep it even.
Yes, right in the middle.
and I tell you, but that was a good learning experience for me, because there was one night where I was going to record it, and I decided, no, instead I'm going to run back through the movie and make some notes. And so I ended up I had like 3 pages of notes, and I actually did an outline, because I had a few other things to throw in. Trolls World Tour, I was going to throw that in there, because we'd watched that about 46 times. And it went a lot better with the notes, especially by yourself. And I was like, man, this is kind of difficult if you by yourself to, especially if you're just talking about, something different, like a history podcast. I think, like Dan Carlin, he does a good job. It's just him, but he also does like months and months and months of research.
Oh, wow.
Who's got time for that?
so-
Not me, you know what I'm saying?
I know. But the good thing is, I definitely want to stick with having guests. Probably not every episode, but definitely try to have at least 1 or 2 guests a month. And I actually have, this week, I have three guests booked. So I'll be recording
Wow.
3 episodes this week for interviews on various people, various backgrounds. And one of my good Army buddies is going to do a couple episodes where we talk about a couple movies that we've seen recently. So I think that should be exciting. We always have some interesting banter back and forth. So I think I'm pretty excited for all that.
That's so exciting. So where can people find you if they wanted to listen to your podcast, and where can they follow you on social media?
Sure. So we're on Twitter at FDS Podcast 7. And also We're on Anchor is the homepage for the podcast, Fat, Drunk, and Stupid, but you can get it wherever you get your podcast. It should be on all the platforms.
Awesome. Well, we are so excited to have you on the show today and to learn more about you. And like I said, Chris is, as soon as he found your podcast, he loves listening like you do to podcasts. And he's like, I really like the vibe of this guy, Christine. I really want to have him on the show. So we appreciate you taking time out of a very busy schedule to join us today. And so, friends, you can find Rob at Fat, Drunk, and Stupid Podcast, FDS Podcast. Yeah, FDS Podcast 7 on Twitter, and definitely subscribe to his podcast. And that first episode, you'll get to hear that amazing guitar riff and a little bit more of his
love
story.
that, by the way, dude. I love that.
But thanks again so much, Rob, for being on the show with us today.
I appreciate it, guys. I really do. I really enjoyed it, and it's great to talk to you. And I really enjoy you guys' show. So you guys are very inspiring, and I really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Rob. Thank you.
Hey guys, what's up? It's the J-Boy Show. I'm Ezekiel.
And I'm Jacob. And I'm Mason.
And don't forget to listen to our new podcast on Apple Podcasts.
And don't forget to subscribe.
It's a lot of fun.
Yes, it is.
We talk about sports, motors, engines, and all kinds of stuff.
And YouTubers.
And YouTubers. So don't forget to subscribe and listen in every Sunday.
All right, and keep moving forward.
Forward.
Well, I really, really enjoyed that interview, Christine. That was really cool.
Yeah, that was really fun. And I like how we refer to him in-house as Twitter Rob, since we were like, it was like our Match.com moment Twitter edition.
That's how we met him, by the way, was on Twitter. I put out a tweet saying if anybody wanted to collaborate with us, hit us up. And he hit us up.
Yeah, he was one of the nice ones that did. I mean, there were some other slightly inappropriate DMs, and I was like, why are you messaging my man?
Well, hey, shh, quiet. And Becky, I'm sorry. She didn't mean it.
Hey, don't be inappropriate.
I'm sorry. But no, but Rob was really, really cool. I really enjoyed having him on the show.
Yeah, and I love listening to his episode. I really did love when he was talking about his guitars. And funny enough, I did hear about that special type of guitar that he was just talking about, that orphan guitar. One of my friends was just posting about it. I'm trying to remember. Oh,
was it for sale or something?
No, it was like a puzzle that she did, and it had like different pictures of that same exact type of guitar.
A puzzle of a picture of a guitar.
Of like 7 guitars of that brand, and they were like different
okay.
styles, but it was like a really cool puzzle. And you know, I didn't really realize that was like a big deal of a guitar until I just heard Rob in the interview, and now I have context that it was like, because I was like, why is my friend doing a puzzle of these like guitars? Well, now I get it.
Well, guitars are pretty cool anyways, no matter who they're made by. I think guitars are always cool. I have a fascination with guitars. I love guitars, although I can't really play the guitar. But I do love people who do, and Rob can play the guitar, and I give him mad props that he can play the guitar.
Okay, well, you say that you can't play the guitar, but I would say that one of my favorite memories from when we first started dating was when I did have my guitar at my apartment, and you and Jacob and Mason came over. It was before we were going to a barbecue. And no, actually it was just a date night. And you pulled the guitar out and you just started making up these silly songs for me.
Of course I did. That's how you do it.
That's still to this day is one of my favorite memories, because you were like talking about, like, you were just making up these, Christine, you are so beautiful, and
course,
like off key, and it was so cute.
It was perfect. What are you talking about? Musician Chris is in the house.
But it was so adorable. And so you're right. I think that people, whether you can play guitar or not, it's
or
like
fake it till you make it. That's all it's basically
when you pick it up, it's just super fun. And yeah, so I would love to have Rob back on the show and have him riff for us just a little bit.
You know, I just thought of something, Christine. I just thought of a side podcasting project that I want to know if Rob would be interested in helping us out with.
Ooh.
And I just thought
like
of
with guitars?
Maybe. I don't know. We'll have to figure that. We'll work out the details, but I'll have to hit him up and see if he's interested in maybe doing a collaboration.
Sounds fun. Podcast collaborations are always super fun. And speaking of that, not in terms of collaborations, but consultations, I was sharing with you this morning, but I wanted to share with our listeners that we are starting to get some people reaching out to us asking, that are beginning podcasting, asking for advice. And we have our first official podcast consultation coming up this week.
That's right. We are official consultants in the podcasting world now.
Right? Isn't that crazy?
Like, what do we know? We're only at 37 episodes, you know?
Well, I think we underscore the fact that we do a lot of research and put a lot of time and effort and energy into our show. It's not just something that we plug and play every week, but we do a lot of trying to improve ourselves, and we're really hard on ourselves to always be getting better. And it's really exciting that other people are connecting us through the USC community where I go to school. One of my classmates knows and has listened to our podcast and knows somebody that was starting out, connected us, and we officially have our first consultation coming up this week.
That is fantastic.
I know, it's so exciting.
I'm kind of nervous because I don't really know like how to be a teacher of this stuff, really. I try to show people what to do, but I just show people what we've done and say there's about 1 million ways to make a podcast, just like it is with anything. I was trying to talk about this to somebody yesterday. It's like golf clubs. Mm-hmm. You can buy a $50 pair of golf clubs, or you can buy a $10,000 pair of golf clubs. They still hit balls.
Right.
But
it's all about the instruction to guide you along the way. And I think that one of the things I've been learning, like with our kids all being in this distance learning, is that teaching through a digital channel, like through Zoom, is different than teaching face to face. There's a lot of modeling and showing and giving people the tools to then learn on their own. And so I think one of the things I'm excited about is that as we go into this consultation, we're not just going to be like shooting the breeze, but we're doing some prep work, putting together some Google Slides, and we're going to screen share.
Fancy pants.
I know.
Google Slides.
I know. We're fancy.
Well, I think also we're going to have to do the file sharing, or not file sharing, what's it called? The screen sharing on Zoom. It's going to be a Zoom meeting call, and we're going to do the screen sharing so I can share my computer screen and show her the person that we're doing this with.
Right.
Show them the screen so I can show them what we're looking at and how I kind of edit and do some splicing and dicing.
I know you're so cool, Mr. Audio Engineer. So we're getting ready to get new business cards for the Chris and Christine show because now we officially have a website, a domain. And
What is that website, Christine?
It's www.chrisandchristineshow.com, and that's Chris and Christine with K, so KRISAND, show.com.
Yes, and we will put that link in the show notes.
Right, but one of the things that I was thinking about is since we have our new domain name and we wanted to amp up our business cards, that I would really love it, Chris, if we could get you personalized business cards that say like
my name at the bottom kind of thing?
But it's like Chris of the Chris and Christine show, and then maybe it's like co-host and audio engineer, and like come up with your titles, because like I think that
production
sometimes
design.
Right, but I think sometimes that you underscore the amount of work that you do here, and
thank you.
If you look at what you're doing, it's audio engineering. Somebody, the gal that I was even setting up the consultation with, was like, yeah, it's really complex when you get into
it can be. It can be, yeah.
I mean, we spend sometimes hours on the post-production work on interviews to help it really flow so it pops and so that it's easy to listen to, and cutting out little things like the and things like that. So you do that, and you've even taught me. So I have full confidence in you that you're going to be able to share the editing skills that you've developed with somebody else and teach them.
But I'm also going to keep it very simple. That's the way I learned to keep it very, very simple at first. Don't get super crazy deep dive. You can get in this with like a surgical knife. You've seen yourself, Christine. You can get super detailed to the breath and just cut that out. You can totally get in there and surgically remove everything, make everything higher, lower. And it's also some crazy features that I would not mess with right now. And that would be the voice changing features, where you can really, really change the voice to like make it sound really deep or really high or however you want to do it. And I wouldn't even mess with that.
How was the high voice again?
Hi. But I wouldn't even mess with that stuff. I try to keep it as natural as possible. That's my tip of the day. Chris's tip of the day. You're welcome. You're all welcome.
Well, I just am standing back here and reflecting on our 37 episodes plus the couple of bonus episodes that we have, and just remarking on really how far we've come. We've been at this for almost 10 months now. We're at the end of this month, it'll be the finish of 10 months. And we talked about before, we started this as just a little side project. It's helped us push through some bumps in the road with our relationship. Not that it was unhealthy, but it's
really?
helping us with communication. It's helping us to, well, okay. So I've got to tell you, Chris, in my work, when we learn about like building teams, there's like these stages of teamwork, and they talk about like the stages are like norming, storming, transforming, and performing.
And anything with an eating, I guess.
Well, the norming is like just establishing like how we're going to interact together. I think that was like the first episode. And then the storming is like when people have different ideas of how to approach a project. And I think sometimes we get into that creatively. But then in the transforming, like where we're starting to be able to do really new things and innovate and bring in guests. All that to say, I'm just really proud of the progress that we've made as a couple and as a podcast, and I'm so excited for like what the future is going to bring.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you, Christine. that made me bring a tear to my eye.
Oh, don't be a dork.
And a crack to my heart.
A crack to your heart?
A tear to my soul. I don't know. Okay, and now it's time we bring it back to you with our Shout Out Central.
Yes, and thank you again for our continuous support from our listeners from afar and abroad. And this week, of course, we have the wonderful United States. And also joining us again this week are Ireland, Canada, and Spain.
Thank you guys for listening. Thank every one of your countries for listening. We really appreciate it. And now bringing it back to America here, we happen to throw out a couple cities here. Thank you for listening in Avon, Colorado.
Woohoo! New listener.
Thank you. And also another shout out to Wilmington, Delaware. Thank you for listening.
Yes.
We appreciate that. And also bringing it back to California. Thank you, whoever is listening to us in Fontana, California. Thank you for listening.
For some reason, every time somebody says the word Fontana, it makes me think of Fanta soda. I don't know why, like Fontana and Fanta.
That's where it was made. Did you know that? It was made in Fontana, but they spelled the name wrong on the bottle. So that they just said, well, we already shipped 10,000 of these, so
stick with it.
Stick with it. Keep it rolling.
Well, thanks for our new listener in Fontana. We appreciate you so much.
And thank you so much for listening, and we will see you guys next week.
Remember this week that life is too short to wake up in the morning with regret.
So love the people who treat you right, forget about the ones who don't, and believe that everything happens for a reason.
If you get a chance, take it. If it changes your life, let it. Nobody said that it would be easy.
They just promised it would be worth it. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Chris.
And I'm Christine, and until next week,
keep moving forward.